Got traffic there. Blaster, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a lowest downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final, you're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold, take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see. What we got? A tricycle. Tricycle. Put it down. Tricycle. Put it down. Tricycle. Put it down. Tail dragger. Down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here. You clear land on 9 all the way to the white dot. Go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway, and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern, or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, here on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around.
Yeah, follow.
Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that. After 35 years, you would think, right? All right. So let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Hello.
Hello. Hello and welcome everybody. And excuse me a minute.
Is it a reminder to do the live stream?
No,
it's a reminder to turn your mother-in-law's light on.
It's a reminder to turn my mother-in-law's light off, which I actually did about 8 seconds ago. Hello and welcome to this Thursday evening live stream. It is great to be back. If you probably haven't noticed, but I've been away for a bit. Anyway, what is this weather all about? Snow, grayness, rain, mud. It's like being back in bloody November. We want spring. We want joy. We want sunshine. We want blue skies. We want to go flying. I want to go flying. Anyway, I'm desperate to go flying. Right. Anyway, so first off, thank you very much for joining us, and another big thanks to Sky Demon for supporting the live stream. Without them, it wouldn't be as good as it is, and it is really good. I think you'll agree. It's completely sick now by our team of professional technical people. Anyway, without me wibbling on, here's Sky Demon's tip of the week.
Hi, I'm Hannah from Sky Demon, and this is today's top tip. Sky Demon gives you the option to set in flight timers, which you might find useful for reminding you to perform repetitive tasks like changing fuel tanks. Go to Setup, Navigation Options, In-Flight Timers, and press the plus button to create a new timer. Enter the text that you want to appear on the screen. In this case, we'll set a reminder to perform a Frida check. And the interval between timers, we'll set it to appear every 10 minutes. To delete an existing timer, just swipe to the left. For more information on using Sky Demon, take a look at our user guide, which you can access from our website.
You can set an in-flight timer to do the mother-in-law's light. There we go.
I could do. I actually run my fuel endurance on timers. So like when I'm down to a quarter of an hour, I get a little ping that says you should be landing now. And I go and find somewhere to land. Not really, honestly.
Right? Yeah, I could imagine you might, because you know Tim a little bit, maybe you get some personalised kind of Tim audio as well. It's like, Ian, you might run out of fuel soon. You should land.
You should land. It's probably time to consider. Yeah, no, I don't do that really. Obviously not. I think 15 minutes. I mean, I'd be mad. I'd wait till 10. Anyway, right. What have we got next? It must be time for Simon. And this is a bit, apparently the team had this nailed while I wasn't here. So let's see if I can figure out how to half nail it. Clearly not. And then I think we'll go to this one. And then I think we'll go to...
Oh,
no. How am I going to do that?
That's it.
How about that? Is that better?
So you're all in.
Hello, Simon. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you, Ian. Very well. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. It's great to see you.
Yeah, like you say, a week of weather, eh? It's been very exciting here at the Weather Centre, but wow, I am tired now. Everybody gets very excited when it snows, and it looks like, thank goodness, we're going to see the back of this snow, at least for a few hours, probably by the middle part of tomorrow morning. Being sent pictures. This was sent to me by Mark Miller. His wife, Siobhan, took this picture as they were driving on the M1 near Newport Pagnell this week. I think they were on the way to a flight, and great picture of cumulonimbus. Look at that. So much going on in that picture. I could go on for half an hour about what's going on in that picture, but you can see the updrafts, you can see the downdrafts, you see the blue sky behind, the polar maritime air mass. Just wow. Of course, no good for flying through. And thanks to everybody who's been sending pictures this week, because you have sent quite a few in. This is how this evening shapes up. I see some comments already there that people have got snow. This is the precipitation type radar as of now. And the green is rain, the pink and the reds are snow. You see that much of southern Scotland, northern parts of England, parts of Wales, much of Ireland have got snow now. Bits and pieces of rain further south south as it's getting a little bit milder. But up towards the north across Scotland, that's where we've still got the real Arctic air. 1 or 2 showers coming in there, but some clearer skies at the moment. But what's going to happen overnight is that this area is going to slip back southeastwards and perhaps bring some more snow to parts of Wales, to parts of the Midlands, and to parts of East Anglia by the morning. So this is how tomorrow shapes up, I think. Low pressure clearing off towards the east. We've got a northerly flow down through many parts of the country. Some snow showers still down these eastern coasts across East Anglia. Pretty windy across the east tomorrow and feeling damn cold in that wind as well. Northerlies probably around about 20-25 knots, could still be gusting 30 knots in the morning. However, further west, this is the area, if I can do that, this is the area further west where we get a little rich high pressure building in. Skies will probably clear. Cloud bases are going to lift as well. Visibility improves significantly. So tomorrow afternoon, actually, western parts of England, Wales, western Scotland look better bases around about 3,000 feet tops at about 6,000 or 7,000 feet. Lighter winds as well. And as I say, good visibility. So if you can get out tomorrow afternoon, west looks best. For Saturday, widespread frost early on Saturday morning. If you've got the aircraft outside, it will be quite icy as well. First thing, might take a little bit of sun on it to try and get rid of that ice. But I think many parts of the country, northern and eastern areas particularly, look like having a fair Saturday. Some decent clear spells. But you see here, down towards the southwest, already got a front coming through Ireland into southwestern parts of England. That's going to move its way eastwards. Cloud bases will lower quite quickly. You see here on the cloud ceiling forecast, those yellow and orange colours there are 1,000-foot bases, all there or thereabouts, and that slips eastwards in the afternoon, comes back into the colder air. We could be finding some sleet and snow, probably lying from Northern Ireland through Wales through southwest England during the course of the afternoon. So Saturday morning, if you can get out there, is certainly the better time on Saturday. And then Sunday, we get rid of the cold air. We get a southwesterly flow coming in, and that probably brings us a better day. Bits of rain across northern Scotland. Here, bases of around about 1,000 to 2,000 feet. But elsewhere, I think we're going to be finding bases 2,500 to 3,000 feet, tops at around about 6,000 feet. Although late on, I think more cloud getting into the far southwest. Quite a breezy day in that southwesterly, but actually Sunday presents some reasonable windows, particularly Wales, parts of central, eastern and southern parts of England and eastern Scotland as well. So it's not bad through the weekend. There are some windows in there. And talking of windows, we look at weather windows at my aviation weather school. I've got the next online course on the 18th and 25th of April already booking up. So if you want to come along, you can watch live from wherever you are in the world. You can get yourself booked on that now at weatherschool.co.uk. So that's on the Tuesday evenings of the 18th and 25th of April. Be lovely to see you there. Right, I'll leave you that for now. I've witted on for long enough. Have a fantastic weekend. Hope you got some flying in. See you next week.
Thank you very much, Simon.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Cheers. Right, let's just remove everything. There you go. We're back to normal.
Slightly harsh. The Flying Pig says, can we have a different weather reporter next week, please? We need one that gives us better flying weather. We can't get rid of Simon just because he gives us the truthful weather.
We could have a premium. We could have one of those premium YouTube subscriber things where you pay like whatever it is a week, and then we could just give great weather forecasts. It wouldn't be true, obviously, but
Flyers optimism weather.
Yeah. A bit like various tourist authorities in Latuke sponsor the ATIS, and so you tune in and it sounds amazing, and you get there and it's pants, but at least you're there then. So, right, okay. I do believe it is time for Sarah to do an impersonation of Johnny and give us the benefits of joining the club. And if you're not a member, you really should be. So, yeah. Johnny,
£5 a month, and I'm just going to have to read off the latest landing vouchers from a different screen because I haven't memorised them. So this month we've got Perth, Brayton, Yatesbury, which is microlights only, Northcotes, and Leicester, which is pretty much a good spread around the whole UK, really. Well, minus Northern Ireland, but yeah, really good bunch of landing vouchers there. And
that's a good one. Yeah. Who do we need to thank for those?
You've got ahead of me there. We need to thank Poolies. It is written in red on our running sheet, so we don't miss that out. But yeah, I don't know what the total value is, but it's going to be pushing probably £40 for all of those, and you can get them if you just join the Fly Club this month for £5. And obviously keep the subscription rolling and just keep paying £5 a month for the whole year, and you get even more vouchers. You'll get webinars as well. The next webinar is either going to be next week or the week after, from Will Flood, all about buying and selling aircraft, which will be an interesting one, something we've not done before on previous webinars. So that will be good. And yeah, if you do want to join and don't fancy the monthly option, it's £52 for the whole year, which is a bargain. When you compare what flying costs and what 52 quid can get you elsewhere, you can get a hell of a lot for your money.
I think given that for £5 a month, you get everything we produce in terms of content. You get the free landing fees, you get the exclusive webinars and the events, you get a whole bunch of other discounts. Then and soon you'll get access to the exclusive member-only areas on the Flyer Forum before too long. So £5 a month, £1 a week. Come on, just a favour, sign up. Go sign up now. In fact, don't do it now. Do it once you've finished the live stream.
And are the Flyer Club exclusive lanyards not on the way?
The Flyer Club exclusive lanyards are on the way. Indeed, they are on. That is very true. I'd forgotten about those. But yeah, so you'll get your come and see us somewhere and pick up your Flyer Club exclusive lanyard. Absolutely. Right. That must mean it's time for the news. I think I've got this order right. So we're going to kick off with the old news. Let me switch over to pictures instead of videos. Dave.
Right, so just a reminder that we make available to Flyer Club members a PDF download of most of the articles we've published online over the past 4 weeks. As you can see here, the cover story is how much does a PPLA really cost? It's the first of a series of 4 articles on the same theme, and we'll be covering helicopters, microlights and gyrocopters in the coming months. So what's the answer? How much does it cost in post-COVID, post-Brexit, post-fuel price surge Britain to get your PPLA? The answer, as always, depends on the number of flying hours you need. Most people need 55 to 60 apparently. Where you do it and in what type of aircraft. It's fair to say that a PPL in a top-end glass cockpit modern aircraft, no names mentioned, in the southeast is going to cost a bit more than a 1970s vintage 2-seater out in the sticks, which I guess is where most of us learned, really. Certainly I did. Anyway, wherever you go, it's going to cost probably between 11 and 16,000 pounds, probably closer to the upper figure. So what do you reckon? Is that a reasonable total?
All I remember is that when I learned to fly in 1994, I'd saved up £3,500, which I paid to the good folks at Clacton Aero Club, and I went away for 3 weeks. But I think, because we were talking about this yesterday, weren't we? And we all looked at inflationary prices, and obviously tell us in the comments if you learned to fly at a certain era, and how much you spent. But certainly mine was, I guess, adjusted for inflation, around about 10k. So quite a good value. And Ian's, I think yours was somewhere. So you paid less than me, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought it was 94. It was actually 93. It was 2,000. I paid £2,700 at Archer Flight Training. The bulk of my training was in a PA-28, which is still flying today, Golf Bravo Kilo Charlie Charlie. Although in the way of these things, inevitably the aeroplane goes offline and the instructor gets sick. I think I actually did my GFT in a Robin at the time, but we borrowed or something from somewhere. But yeah, so that's £2,700 payable in 3 lumps at the time. So Archer Flight Training, a chap called Craig, who'd been previously in a previous life was a policeman, and in a future life I've heard he was spotted before he retired driving a bus. So
there's loads of comments. Sorry, 2008, and it was about 100. It was sub 100 to rent.
Okay.
I think it was about 120 quid an hour. This was at Aeros in Gloucester, and I've just Googled it, and the aircraft went solo one is still flying.
Yeah,
so it wasn't that long ago.
Dave, what did the Wright brothers charge you?
I actually sold a motorbike to pay for my flying lessons, and it cost. I remember it costing £58 a lesson. I don't actually remember how many lessons I had. I was going to look it up in the log, but didn't get around to it. So I'm guessing I'd probably come out about the same as you, Ian. Nick Allen, that's not the first comment tonight.
Nick Allen's got it in for you tonight. Excellent. So, I mean, I can't see the comments because I'm in charge of pictures and stuff.
So there's some good suggestions. Annabelle C says, I think it cost me about £3,000. Chris Winch has a winning comment. He said it cost me £187, £4.25 an hour in Oysters on Oysters in 1962. Oh wow! Whiskey Alpha Pilot, £26,000 last year in southeast UK. Jeez. Wow. 3,200 at 1996 NVQ rate. £49 an hour for Nick Orchard on a Falk in 1996. Red Ferret says if you can do the PPL in the minimum hours, you expect around £11,000. John Milner, I have no idea what it costs, and I don't want to know.
I think it's an interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a thread. Sorry, I was going to say there's a thread on the forum, which someone who makes a good point now. I think it's Rob P makes a good point, which is, you mentally you put aside your budget for your PPO and you do that, and generally most of us end up taking 18 months and a bunch more hours and stuff like that, and it costs us a chunk of money. But obviously, once you finish and you get that little piece of poo brown wallet, or it's actually blue these days, isn't it? But it used to be a poo brown one. Yeah, there you go. I've got one of those somewhere as well. You get, that's not the end of your journey, and it's not, unfortunately, the end of your financial journey either. And so it's. I have met a couple of people who kind of did their PPL, said, yeah, no, I did my PPL, cost me whatever it cost me. And so what have you done since? Well, I haven't done anything. I just wanted to get it and tick the box. But it's just, to me, seems like a massive waste of time, effort, and money. But so it does continue to cost money. But as we know, there are many, many ways to fly. there's a huge difference between going out and buying yourself a brand new Cirrus SR22T for $1 million, or going out and buying yourself a 10th share of a Eurostar for, I don't know what that cost you these days, $3,000 or something, and then flying for probably 25-30 quid an hour. And I think the important thing, for me, once you've got your license, so I'm not going to run any cliches or anything here now, even though it's tempting, is that you try and find a type of flying that you can do, that you can afford, whatever that happens to be, and fly regularly without having to worry too much about it. It's when you kind of go, inevitably, you go, oh, I wouldn't mind something bigger and faster. I wouldn't mind something bigger and faster and bigger. And then you get to a point where you go, blimey, that was really painful. And I remember I was in the south of France somewhere with someone who filled up their 421 with avgas, and this is probably 10 years ago now. So I dread to think what it'd be now. And the bill then made me smart. I'm like, I can't imagine spending that much money on a 41. But so I think you need to find the level of money that you can cope with.
There's a bunch of really good comments. I've been flashing a few up. Dave White says, top tip for PPL students, that airline briefcase is a waste of money. It does hold 6 bottles of cross-channel
so those two statements are clearly in contradiction, then, aren't they? So how can it be a waste of money if it carries wine?
Perhaps the worst deal, but maybe the best deal. Clive Anstey says, I got knocked off a motorbike to pay for my microlight training. Yikes. Annabelle C is clearly baiting me over wanting me to say Oysters again. Oysters or Osters? Is this going to become a debate?
There is no debate. It's Osters is the right pronunciation. But good. Well, so if you're watching this on catch up, leave a comment in the comments. Obviously, what you learned on how much it cost. But I think we'd all agree that pretty much whatever it costs, it's worthwhile.
Definitely. And one thing to think about, Crispin Horsfield says, is it worth buying your own aircraft on which to learn? That might be something we'll have to investigate and return to you, Crispin.
I think the answer to that is, if you've got enough money and it suits what you want to do later, then it's not a bad thing at all. There are many people in aviation, from people who spend very, very little to people who spend a lot.
There we go. True statement. Once you've learnt to drive, you don't rent the Ford from the driver.
Yeah.
There we go.
You don't. But once you've learnt to drive, quite often you'll go out and buy the same car. I mean, someone's got to go and buy the hundreds of thousands of Nissan Micras and Ford Escorts and whatever else driving schools run on, haven't they?
Yeah.
And but yeah. No, indeed. Right. What's the So yeah, new compilation. Download it now if you're a member. If you're not, join.
Yes.
Right.
And I did one other comment on the new compilation, which I missed. I need to find it. Where is it? There we go. Dave White says that Fjords to the Med article is fantastic.
Yep. That was from Stu Strachan, who's at Freedom Aviation. And three of them set off on this trip around, to Norway. But the weather they encountered was just pants pretty much the whole time. Apart from a bit, they went chasing the sun down to the Med and found their way back. They found a bit of sun there.
A good adventure.
It was a great adventure. Very good story.
The F4 alone. Yeah. So I've got some news. So it's sad news, and that's that Reno, the National Championship air races, have announced that it's the last year. 2023 will be the last year for the races at Reno. There was an announcement from them earlier today, and they made a statement. They said, "It's with heavy hearts we write to let you know that after nearly 60 years of air racing in northern Nevada, 2023 will be the last National Championship air races at Reno Stead Airport." And they're citing the region's significant growth amongst other concerns. The Reno Tahoe Airport Authority has made the decision to sunset the event. They're looking for people to embrace the last year at Reno and to help make it a big success, which will help them find a new location for it somewhere else, I'm guessing in the US. But you can go to airrace.org and buy your tickets and find out more about the races. They take place on September 13th to 17th. But that'll be sad because it's a big thing, isn't it? It's like we've got Aero and we've got Oshkosh, and Reno is probably has been the big fixture in the calendar for if you're into air racing. So
yeah, I mean, are there in? I hate to ask this question, and I should probably know the answer, but putting aside things like Red Bull and stuff like that, in terms of the Reno style air racing, is Reno the only event, or is it part of a series? Because I'm only really aware of the Reno one.
It's just Reno, isn't it? So there's that big week of event and big week of races, really, isn't it? So
yeah, it's going to be a tricky finding a different
location for it. Yeah.
You don't get many places that are as sparsely populated as Reno for very good reason, frankly. But
I guess they could meld together the High Sierra flying, which takes place in the middle of nowhere.
Dead Cow Lake Bed or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Actually, some Mojave or something like that.
Yeah, or even I'm sure there can't be much going on at Area 51 these days. That's
exactly. Just put it there. Yeah, well, that is a shame. And one, I mean, they must build some kind of small museum memorial or something. There's an awful lot of history there, isn't there, in Reno over the 60 years?
Yeah. Funny old place, though. Funny old place.
It is If ever you feel like visiting the USA in 1963, Reno is the place to go.
Johnny, tell us about Scampton news.
Yeah, so Scampton, which was the home of the Reds until recently and the home of the Dam Busters, is going to apparently remain an operational airfield. The whole 800-acre site is going to be regenerated. So West Lindsey District Council are going to purchase the site and give it straight to a development company called Scampton Holdings Limited. And they say it's going to secure £300 million of investment to regenerate the site. And it's all about sort of preserving and protecting the heritage, as well as generating some business. So the key areas for them are commercial activity, aerospace and aviation, heritage, hospitality and tourism, and then education and research. So it's a big. I've done some work there before, and it's to be frank, it's a bit of a dump. The whole airfield's just been neglected, or the residential, the human. I don't.
Is it the Reno of Lincolnshire?
Yeah. Do you know what? When you said that, I thought if you want the not that I've experienced the UK in the '60s, but that's probably as close as I'll ever get. But it's a really good spot for an airfield, having run an air show there. But the whole technical site from the back end of the hangars where people used to live, and all the barrack blocks and everything, it's not in a good way. So it's probably a good thing that it's all going to get turned into something useful. But the airfield will be kept. So.
Okay.
Martin Loosby says, Johnny, don't hold back. Say what you think.
we've moved on from upsetting countries to upsetting regions of the UK now.
That's it. Yeah.
Anyway, right. Next story is, if you've been following the story of the Robin AD, there was Robin AD which effectively grounded a bunch of Robins. Robin were doing some inspection of some spars that had been glued together for them and found some that weren't glued together properly, which somehow managed to find their way into the production run. So there was a whole AD and a whole thing, everything was grounded, and Robin's CAPR these days were discussing stuff with the EASA, and something came out day before yesterday, which basically ungrounds the aircraft. All you have to do is to include a copy of the AD in the POH under limitations. It reduces the VNO to, I think, 124 knots, and then within 30 days put a placard up. Depending on how much of a cynical beret you decide to wear, Robin's entry into the French equivalent of Chapter 11 may or may not be linked to the SPA issue, because once that clearly needs, it's an interim AD, so hopefully there's a permanent fix for it. That permanent fix will probably involve a much more detailed inspection. That will undoubtedly be at the cost of Robin, and with a bunch of aircraft flying in, I think one in the UK, maybe two, and some obviously France and Germany, then there's clearly going to be some big bills flying around there. So it looks like there's a way out, and the aircraft are no longer grounded, which is a very, very, very good thing. Dave, talking about
good
stuff.
Talking about stuff. So the headline is: the drone industry wants mandatory electronic conspicuity by 2025, and this is based on a report from the BVLOS forum, that's Beyond Visual Line of Sight forum, led by Nats, looking at what needs to happen for commercial operations by drones to become a reality and live up to the promise, hype or investment, depending on how you look at it. They've produced a list of 4 actions, 3 of which are entirely bland and pretty meaningless. However, number 4 clearly states that mandatory electronic conspicuity across all aircraft by 2025 is pretty much essential for integrated airspace to happen. What they don't say is how that's going to be paid for, whether they're going to stump up for electronic conspicuity for all of us, or what.
Well, I think, I'm not sure if I dare say this, but I'm going to have to, I'm going to say it. I suspect with everything happening, some form of mandatory electronic conspicuity is going to be part of our future. And given that if the drone industry is pressing for it, and the drone industry is as big and powerful as it looks like it will be, I think it should probably put its hand in it. It's probably relatively cheap for it to put its hand in its pocket and create that, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
But there's a whole bunch of stuff to go between now and then, undoubtedly. Yep. So we'll see.
Yes. Johnny.
Yeah, next one, real quick story. So Diamond have a launch customer for their EDA40, which is going to be Lufthansa Aviation training. So they're looking at, they've signed basically a letter of intent to jointly explore opportunities for sustainable flight training. So they're going to be looking at operating these for their commercial flying training. And so the EDA40 is obviously a new derivative of the DA40, and it should be the first EASA Part 23 certified electric airplane with DC charging. And they say it's going to be able to be recharged from flat to full in less than 20 minutes, which is pretty quick.
Incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Really
we'll see.
That.
Yeah, we'll wait and do what happens with that.
For any airfield that has a nuclear power station attached that will be able to provide that much fuel, you can recharge in 20 minutes. Otherwise, plug in and wait for a couple of hours.
Did you see it had a rather hopeful little solar panel on the tail?
Yeah, I know. I saw. There's not even enough. You couldn't even generate enough to run the bloody little strobe on the back with that, could you? Anyway, Ed.
Yes. So I have a police helicopter story, and it's what's being billed as the ultimate criminal catcher. It's been on display at the Avalon Air Show in Australia this week. The Pegasus E flying car is an Aussie invention that can be driven like a car and flown like a helicopter, giving it greater scope, namely to take to the air during high-speed vehicle pursuits, which the police are increasingly prohibiting due to safety concerns. Now, they say high-speed vehicle pursuit. I will say that this vehicle can only manage 100 miles an hour on the road or 120 miles an hour in the air. It's powered, the Pegasus E, it's powered by a petrol-electric hybrid, generating 100 kilowatts and weighs 265 kg empty. Max altitude is 5,900 feet and a payload of 101 kilograms. So hopefully any of those police officers will be light.
No donuts.
I know, yeah. The ground to air transition time, which I don't know what that means either, is quoted as 3 seconds. Is that means you can screech to a halt and turn from a car into a helicopter? In that, there's like they haven't known it. They don't know helicopters, do they? It's more like It's surely going to be 3 minutes or 33 minutes.
Yeah.
The developers claim the Pegasus E is the world's only true VTOL-capable drivable flying car that can be parked in any general car park or garage. Thanks to its folding rotor blades, and apparently they fold with centrifugal force. So that just sounds horrible. Frankly, my mind boggles. Is it just me, or looking at those photos, does this remind? It looks like it should be fine in like the 1960s TV series Batman. And here comes the Batcopter.
I wouldn't fancy doing 100 miles an hour on those little wheels and tyres.
No.
Well, no, yeah, and it looks like it should have bat livery on. You know, like that. In fact, I prefer the Batcopter. And also, you know, in a police chase, you know, will the criminals not go, well, I'll just brake and they'll crash into me, and this very flimsy-looking thing will be completely destroyed. So, or if they turn into a helicopter and they can do a blistering 120 miles an hour, you know, your average, I'm sure most people will be able to escape that. So, and so we decided this was, it's an idea that seemed like a good idea at the time, though clearly not to anyone with any sense of or semblance of aviation knowledge. And this will form the basis of Fancy Hangar later.
Yeah, absolutely. Which must mean it's not time for Fancy Hangar, but it is time for our guest, who was here earlier.
He was here earlier.
There he is. He's here now.
That's sweaty.
Lovely. Good evening, everybody.
He was a great team, and we were worried that maybe he'd vanished.
I know, yeah. So I turned my camera off, thinking, you know, I don't want to appear when you don't want me to appear.
No, we're in complete control of that.
Lovely.
We can mute you, we can disappear you, all of those things. We can make you say things you didn't mean to say. You name it.
That's it.
Can't.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Because if that happens, you can just mute me.
Johnny, over to you.
Good. All right. Well, yeah, Kathan, thanks for joining us. So Kathan was the youngest flying instructor in the UK when he started teaching, I think in 2019, and you've been on to do things like ferry airplanes, and now you're instructing and examining theoretical knowledge as well, I think. So thanks for joining us. Just tell us about your background and what inspired you to get involved in aviation.
Absolutely. Firstly, thank you for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure. So I've always wanted to become a pilot ever since I was 3. My father used to take me to a local airport where we used to live. And I saw those planes fly, and it's like, you know, what makes the magic happen? How does that plane, you know, stay in the air? And ever since, I've always wanted to become a pilot. And it's like, I want to be the person flying that plane, I want to be the person sitting in the cockpit. So the aviation bug just came in, and it's like, that's it, you know, I can't leave aviation now. And then I used to stand outside Heathrow and catch all the pilots, you know, just finishing their duties just to ask them, like, you know, how did you become pilot? And I've probably asked, you know, hundreds of pilots to say, yeah, how did you become a pilot? And I ran into one pilot, and he said, you asked me the same question yesterday. I said, oh, okay, I'm so sorry. But one thing I learned from them was the first step was a PPL, get myself a PPL. Then after finishing GCSEs and my A-levels, I decided I think I should do my PPL. So Dad used to work in Radlett, and he said, you know, I can drop you at Elstree because it's on the way. And I said, that's perfect, because I didn't drive a car back then. I didn't have my driving license until I became a flight instructor. So it was quite handy for him to drop me, pick me up in the evening. Yeah, got my PPL in 2017 when I was 17. And then I did work experience at Elstree, and we used to move airplanes in and out of hangar, refuel helicopters when they used to fly in. And then I worked as an operations manager for one of the flight schools, where I used to build my flying hours. So I used to take planes back and forward to and from Western. That's where the maintenance facility was. So from Elstree to Western, I used to, get everything for free. I didn't have to sort of pay for it, although I cost shared for it, but it meant that I could build my hours quite quickly. So built my hours, and in June 2019, I had two options. I could either go into my commercial exams, or I could become a flight instructor. And back then it was, a shortage of instructors everywhere. It's still the case now. But everybody, all the flight schools were looking for instructors. And there were two flight schools at Elstree who were willing to give me a job straight away once I finished my instructor course. So I thought to myself, the best option is to get myself an instructor rating. And I've always enjoyed sort of teaching others. And it's that joy of them passing the exams to say, I've done a good job. So they finished my instructor rating in July 2019. And then I've been instructing ever since. And then after crossing about 1,000 hours, last December 2021 was when I decided, what's next. So I thought to myself, I've always wanted to become a flight examiner. And I looked at the requirements, and I'd ticked all the boxes, and I applied to the CA. The CA approved the application, and went on the course to Aeros, and then did the exam. So here I am.
Brilliant. So you've had a few hiccups along the way. I think you took the government to court, didn't you, at one point? Because
yes, it wasn't the government. It's actually the Home Office.
Yes, yeah,
and similar. But what it was, I'm going through the same issue at the moment, even now whilst talking, because as soon as I turned 18, I've been living in the UK since 2010, because my father was employed here, and then I moved here along with my mother. And just because I turned 18, they denied me to become a British citizen, to say, now that you're over 18, we want you to go back to India. And it's like, how does that make sense? Because I've done all my GCSEs here, I've done my A-levels here, I've got my PPO here. Just because I turned 18 and you want me to go to India. I said, okay, fair enough. If you want to send me back to India, send me as a family. But, I haven't really got an establishment in India to say I've got a house, I'll get a job the next day I land. So it was quite unfair of how they treated me, which is why I really had to fight for a human rights case to say, look, the way you're treating me is really not right, especially after what I've achieved. So just before I became a flight instructor, I had to file a human rights case to say this is not right. Just because I turned 18 doesn't really mean that I'm able to fully support myself.
Well, and you must have been successful, I guess.
Second,
you must have been successful, I guess.
Absolutely, I was, because I told the the judge to say that, look, if I am successful, I will be the UK's youngest flight instructor, and my aim is to help others be pilots, or not just to be pilots, but to be anything, and to show them that anything you want to become is achievable. And I think she understood my point to say it was really unfair for the Home Office to have a decision against my favour.
So talk us about some of the ferry flying you've done as well, because that sounds interesting. How did you get into it? What is it, something you wanted to do, or is it an opportunity that cropped up?
Absolutely. I've always sort of fancied doing ferry flights. The point, that's the 206 we ferried. So the ferry flight started when I was working at Elstree, and ferrying planes to and from maintenance. And then I met, when I was doing operations manager role, I met my friend Mark Edelston, who is also a ferry pilot, and he often needs safety pilot. As you know, for a single pilot operation, but just for safety. And he's invited me for a couple of flights, and I've done a couple of them myself within Europe. But I have done a lot of transatlantic flights with Mark. So we've ferried a Cessna 206, the picture you saw, that we ferried all the way to, what was that? Miami? Yeah. So that was from Denham to Miami, and it was such an incredible experience. Although I couldn't build my flying hours, but it was an amazing experience just to see, how ferry flying is done. And I have gained so many skills from that. And I think the route we took was from Denham. We flew to Sandtoft, spent a night in Sandtoft. From Sandtoft, we flew to where was that? Yeah, Sandtoft to Wick. Then we crossed over to Iceland, Reykjavik to Greenland, Sassuaq. From Greenland into Canada into USA, and I think we crossed into Goose Bay into Essex County near JFK, and then down towards Miami.
Brilliant. So what's a typical day for you nowadays?
At the moment, so a typical day is, as a flight instructor, what I would do is turn up at the flight. I'm actually at the flight school now. So
I figured that wasn't your bedroom.
No. So typical day. So I think I'm hearing myself again.
That's weird.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what.
Yeah, it might be my laptop. So typical day for me, I would say, turn up to the aerodrome. Oh, I'm hearing myself again.
Did you just very quickly? Did you move closer to your laptop test? Then I wonder, maybe if you move a little bit away from it.
If I move a little bit away.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'm okay. Yep,
I think I fixed it.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So before I actually turn up to the aerodrome, check the weather. If it's looking like, we're not going to fly today, I'll just stay in bed. I might come in to do a couple of ground lessons, but if it looks flyable, I'll turn up at the flight school, check what bookings I have, see the students. Before students actually come in, I make sure I look at the students' record to see what stage they're at with the flight training, especially if I'm not their main instructor or if they've trained with somebody else before me, just to see what's progress they've made whilst they were not with me. And then I'll decide how to progress further. So suppose it was a student has completed exercise, 7, 8, climbing, descending. And the instructor's note says exercise needs to be repeated. And that's what we do. We go recover exercise 7, 8, and then if I think students are quite happy, or I'm happy with the student's performance, then we'll move on to exercise 9. But once the student turns up, I'll do the briefing. Just like any other flight school. Do the briefing, head out to the aircraft, do the flight. If I'm happy with the standards, we'll come back. If not, and if it's been an hour and a half, we'll still come back. And then debrief the student. Yeah, that's it. I have write all the student records, check logs. Typically in a day, I'm expecting, a day like today, no flights, hopefully. But on a good summer day, I'm expecting 4 to 5 flights at the least. In 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, in summer, we used to do a lot of trial lessons and a lot of Virgin Air Experience flights. So we used to go from Elstree to North Weald about 7, 8 times a day. So go to North Weald, land, the passengers swap, and we fly back. So it was like a shuttle run to North Weald. But yeah, once I finish with my final student, I'll make sure the paperwork are correct, everything's in order, because got to be a good boy and do all the paperwork along with the flying, and yeah, and then I think the most important thing is to actually stay with the student and keep up with the progress of that student. So what I have at the moment is I'm training my own students. So students who want to fly with me. I've got about 7 students who I regularly train. And I think that's quite good because I know how much progress they're making and I can help them, fully towards getting their PPL. So I make sure that if they're still struggling on, say, climbing, descending, I've got to make sure I try my best to help them out. Could be a YouTube video, could be a simulator session, could be just one-to-one talk to say what are the steps you're getting wrong. So yeah, in a day, it depends how the weather is. If the weather is like today, what I'll do is I'll get 1 or 2 students to come in for a ground lesson, because you can't really practice VFR flying on simulator, but what you can practice is the procedure. So like climbing, there are 3 steps, power, attitude, trim, attitude, power, trim. So if students practice that, then at least when we go flying, it's not like learning everything. They're just implementing what they've learned into flying. So I can just polish on things to say your attitude has to be a little bit higher, or the power, the way you did it was wrong, which I think is quite important. So we took we make the most advantage out of bad weather days and the good weather days.
Could I ask a question?
Of course.
Yeah. Do you get nervous sending someone first solo?
Oh, important question that is. Yes, absolutely. Most of the time, I know they're capable. A couple of different instructors have also flown with them, so I know that they are capable. They will not sort of break the plane. But first solo, oh yeah, definitely. It definitely makes me nervous to say, please land, please land. Please make sure I can use the plane again.
How many people have you sent solo so far, Kathan?
Oh, before you get signed off, before you're unrestricted, you've got to send 25 solo students. So I became unrestricted within a year. So 2020, so 25, 50, I think.
Okay. Wow, that must be so special.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, every solo is still the same feeling.
Yeah.
So I probably could have worked it out before, but I'm too slow to work it out. How old are you now?
22.
22. Okay, so getting on a bit, as they say. Not really.
Yeah. Well, birthday's coming up soon, so.
What's the plan for the future?
Plan for the future. Firstly, to continue instructing, examining. I also want to continue become multi-engine instructor, MEIR instructor, and also want to go into the airlines, so experience the commercial world. But at some point, I also want to get into air racing. So
into what? Sorry, air racing.
Air racing, yeah. I've always fancied aerobatics and sort of the handicap air racing. I've been told it's dangerous, but still. But it's I've always liked racing and I like planes. So it's like what's the best deal out of both?
Okay. Well, the good news is that the 3 R's, the records, the Air Racing Association, they've got a Get Into Racing Day coming up at Popham in a couple of months' time, I think. So you can go along and learn air racing.
I have heard, actually. Yeah, I've heard about that. So it's definitely on my go-to list.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Yeah, good stuff. Right. Well, Kathan, thanks for joining us. And might hopefully see you at an airfield around the summer, or maybe even at our Pilot Careers live events if you're going to any of those. So
absolutely, yeah. I have not missed a single PCL since 2013.
Wow.
No.
I think it's an incredible event. If you want to become pilot, if you are a pilot, networking event, information event. It's just brilliant because you see so many familiar faces, and it's like it's just amazing.
Brilliant.
And just literally before you go, in kind of really quick, what Anajan says, what advice would you give someone of a similar age if you were getting into aviation?
That's a really good question. I also do a lot of motivational speeches, careers advice. So if you are a similar age, want to get into aviation, just remember that anything is possible. Anything you want to become is possible, whether you want to be a pilot, whether you want to be an engineer, whatever it is. You've just got to work hard towards it. There are barriers there. There are obstacles. Obstacles are waiting, staring at you. But it's about how you overcome those obstacles is the thing that will get you across into, whether you want to be a pilot, whatever. So just remember that if you want to become anything, I was actually speaking on I did a video on Instagram the other day. We do say pilot training is expensive, and I've seen students say, I'm not going to become pilot because it's too expensive for me. Yes, flight training is expensive, but it's always been, one of the most expensive things that we do. But it's like anything. It's like if you want to become a pilot, no matter if it's like £2,000 a lesson, you'll work for 6 months and pay for that 1 hour. So even if you want to be a pilot and it's cost you that much, you will work towards it. You'll earn some money, save some money, and spend it on flight training. So always try to think, how can you invest in yourself, and go for it.
Very good.
Brilliant.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We'll see you in April in London, and come and say hello. We'll see you at PCL, hopefully. And,
absolutely. Thank you so much, William, Fabio, Derek. Thank you so much.
Lots of great comments in there. Right. Thank you very much. It must be time for...
Great stuff. Oops. As Borderless Aviation says, such an enthusiastic and passionate interview. And that's brilliant, isn't it, to have done all that by 22.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Wish I'd have achieved as much by 22.
Mark Greenfield, who we know is another very experienced instructor, popped on earlier, and he said, what did he say? He said, is Kathan actually a younger flying instructor than me? Must be close. Yes, it's a little gap.
Yes, just a tiny, tiny, tiny gap.
That's
absolutely.
It.
Right.
Okay, so hangar. This week, after seeing the inspired police helicopter idea from Australia, we decided to look at projects and examples of those things that seemed like a good idea at the time for our fantasy hangars. So who is first?
I think it's Dave who's first this week.
Right. Okay, well, I've gone for the obvious winner in this category. It's the Delacna HZ1 Aerocycle. It's a one-man personal helicopter developed by Delacna Helicopters in the mid-50s, intended to be operated by inexperienced pilots with a minimum of 20 minutes instruction. It was, as it says, it's a one-man flying platform able to carry up to 54 kilograms of payload in addition to its pilot. And apparently a cargo lifting line could be threaded through the rotor shaft for the carrying of underslung loads. The pilot stood on this platform. He was secured by a safety harness. Unfortunately, that same safety harness also secured the engine, which was an outboard marine engine, controlled by a twist grip motorcycle-style throttle, driving the 4.6 meter, that's about 15 feet diameter, contra-rotating blades. So they're contra-rotating. It's just two sets of blades.
If one pair doesn't get you, the second pair will.
It's I've made this joke earlier about if you did have to have an accident, you could make, if you had a microwave handy, you could have chili con carne in seconds.
I know. And it looks, the belt that goes around your waist, does it remove that flabby tummy at the same time as you're flying?
It probably does, yes. Apparently,
And I like the idea of going for inexperienced aviators, because clearly if any experienced aviators looked at that, they go, not a chance.
No, not in a million years.
Apparently, they were quite promising about it, but apparently a rare outbreak of common sense killed off the project before it killed off any soldiers.
I would rather fly in a gyrocopter than one of those.
Yeah, Dave White says, I've seen cheaper toenail trimmers.
Okay, well, I'm up next. So I've gone for something with a slightly unfortunate name, but this is the McDonnell XF-85 Goblin. Basically, the thing was, as we all know from watching lots of films and our history books, during World War II, the long-range bombers were accompanied by fighters to provide some kind of protection. The problem was that as things developed after World War II, the bombers had an increasingly long range, for which the fighters of the day weren't capable of keeping up with. So they came up with the idea of something called a parasite fighter. Effectively, some of the bombers in the stream would be converted not to carry bombs, but to carry up to 5 of these parasite fighters, as they were, that would be released on a trapeze and then go and do their defending before reattaching on the trapeze. You see that hook at the front? That hook at the front, there you go. There it is, hooked onto the trapeze. Unfortunately, they tried to, during flights, 2 of these were built. They put one in a wind tunnel and unfortunately dropped it from about 40 feet, and that broke it and wrote that one off. That was just in a kind of wind tunnel loading accident. And they got the other one. They finally got it going and popped it out of the bottom of a modified B-29, actually, originally, just for the testing. And the poor guy, they discovered that, it actually flew quite well. It was a bit slower than they thought it would be, which was a bit of a problem that they didn't actually have to overcome in the end. But they tried to go and reattach with the hook and discovered that there's actually quite a lot of wake turbulence and all sorts of funny stuff from a B-29. So it became really difficult to reattach the hook. And I think it took something like, I think on the first attempt, he was kind of like the test pilot. He was obviously a clearly very skilled chap, kind of ended up smashing the canopy off. The canopy got ripped off, his oxygen mask got ripped off, and he was like, oh God, there you go again, I'm not going to enjoy it. So he had to go and do a landing on a dry bed lake, dry lake bed, I should say, which happened to be there. And that happened 7 times. I don't think he ever managed to attach properly. And at that point they went, maybe we need to rethink this. And the program got cancelled, unfortunately, which is, so there you go. It seemed like a good idea at the time. It clearly wasn't.
I would imagine if you took all the skin off that fuselage, it would look like you were riding the jet engine.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. that skin on that fuselage is basically just to stop your legs getting burnt.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Absolutely. So there you go. That's my entry into the category.
And that was only margin. Before they came up with the idea for the Goblin, they actually mounted two jets to wingtips of bombers. So you imagine you're in your little fighter jet and you're actually mounted to a wingtip. So I'm not sure what's a worse idea.
How do you get back on?
But I don't know. I've just seen photos of this B-29 with aeroplane with 2 little jets attached to its wingtips. So, well, more the question, how does takeoff occur? Surely they just fall off.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Johnny.
Mad. Right. Yeah. So mine is, it was an idea to help if you got shot down behind enemy lines and couldn't be rescued by helicopter or couldn't walk the distance, then why not inflate your own aeroplane?
Oh, yes.
So this is the Goodyear inflator plane, which did have like a proper designation of GA447 apparently. But yeah, it was designed by Goodyear in the 50s to provide an inflatable rubber airplane that could be used to drop behind enemy lines near down pilots who could then get it out the box, inflate it and fly away to safety. Apparently, this is on the Smithsonian website, the performance is comparable to a J3 Cub. I'm not sure I believe that, but apparently it's inflated in about 5 minutes using, and it's got less air pressure in than a car tire, It used a 40 horsepower Nelson engine that had to be hand started. It's 22-foot wingspan, held 20 gallons of fuel, maximum weight of 240 pounds, and a range apparently of 400 miles.
What?
Takeoff distance of about 250 feet, and then 350 to land. But yeah, it didn't quite work as hoped. Although it was quite ingenious in a way, because apparently the nylon, when it was under tension, repelled water as it stiffened, and also gave some sort of shape and rigidity. And apparently the continuous pressure provided by the engine could resist 6 30 caliber bullets.
Oh, so you could have holes in it, and it could
Yeah,
be
apparently.
deflated. So it's like a self-inflating aeroplane as well. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it. You described in your description, you said Goodyear designed it, and I was looking at it going, no one really designed that. That
No.
just kind of designed itself.
Yeah, but there was they had the first, I think, or only fatal accident when a lieutenant was killed. The aircraft was in a descending turn, and one of the control cables came off the pulley and locked the stick in place, and then the turn tightened until one of the wings folded over the prop and got shredded. So
at that point, it probably couldn't keep itself inflated, could it?
No. That is verging. I think that's verging on an interesting
I could
idea.
definitely see why, that there was probably a board meeting. There were probably men in suits smoking cigarettes, sat around in a very smoky room, and that seemed like a really good idea at the time.
That's because they hadn't heard at the time of property developers doing deals with councils to dig up runways behind enemy lines.
There we go. Mike Roberts said, surely fill it with helium for better performance.
Yeah. If only you could get some.
Yes.
Well, there you go. That's not so. Ed, do you want to?
So that leaves me. I've gone for something that was much more recent and a bit more up to date. I went for this craziness. This was the BD-10. So this is Jim Beattie's attempt to introduce the world's first kit-built jet-powered general aviation supersonic jet. It was announced in 1989 and was completed in 91, flew in 92, and the world went a bit mad for it because just look at it, it's stunning. It's powered by a General Electric CJ610 jet, which you could buy either new or second-hand. And this was basically a little mini F-15. And it was, the world thought, wow, this is really quite exciting. But there was, and it was pretty conventional in construction terms. It used aluminium and fiberglass composites, and it only weighed 1,600 pounds. Now, the engine, I'm bearing in mind, that's about the same as a 172. The engine had 3,000 pounds of thrust. And the performance estimates were really exciting. Takeoff roll of 260 meters, even if it was fully fueled. It would climb at 20,000 feet per minute, a cruising altitude of 45,000 feet. And there was a promised cruise of Mach 0.9, and a high altitude cruise would be at full power. They were promising Mach 1.4, and the aviation world was like, this is amazing. Now, there was a problem here. There was some structural issues with the aeroplane, and the fins. There were some failures. 5 examples were built. 3 of them crashed. And there was some loss of life, which was really unfortunate. And I'm just a fantastic little thing, but it was something that we didn't need. The world didn't need a home-built supersonic jet. So,
it does. I can kind of see how that would have been seductive to many people, many people in the USA.
Yeah, and there was at the time 63 $10,000 deposits were placed for kits, but it just wasn't to be, which is probably a good thing.
Mr. Beattie had a checkered career, didn't he?
Yeah, Dave White's got a very good point, and it's something I forgot to say. The BD-10 had 2 sticks because as the speed increased, the control loads became too high. So initially you had a side stick for regular low speed flying, and then they gave you a huge great stick in the middle so you could get extra leverage. I guess things like that would start, giving you go, 2 sticks, okay. So anyway, so we're looking in the comments, and John Milner says to Johnny's, I think, no, it's really bonkers. Apparently, there was a British inflatable built at White Waltham by ML Aviation. Mark Greenfield says, Ed wins. Thanks, Mark. Dave wins. Ed wins. Ed wins. That looks great. I would have one. Well, history would say you can't, Marcus.
Yes.
Wins. I made an EDF model of that about 10 years ago. Flew terribly. Ed wins. Dave's was the most bonkers. Dave wins with his limb blender.
Yes.
So was the BD5, but where are they now? BD5, that could have been a bit of what were they thinking? It's probably been a bit more successful than the BD10 for sure.
There are still BD5 flying.
Yeah, there's BD5s flying up there. So Dave wins, most suitable for fancy hangar. Johnny's for me. Johnny wins for me, almost cuddly. I knew that does look like a squishy, So Dave wins, Ed wins, Ed wins, Dave wins. Definitely the most. Annabelle, God dear. Richard Kennedy's comment wins. I missed Richard Kennedy. Richard Kennedy. It's your new name, Richard Comedy. They all deserve to be in fancy hangar. Just keep the skies safe for the rest of us. Okay, that is a winning comment. You are officially Richard Comedy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. Right, which brings us on to
events.
Right. We've already mentioned air racing once, but yep, the Royal Aero Club, or the 3Rs bit of it, which organises the British air racing season, is staging an air race introduction day at Popham on both the 22nd and 23rd of April. So there's 2 separate days. You can go on either. It's free, and it's a place to find out everything you might need to know about the sport. And you can find out more about it on the Flyer website. There's an event there. The other event coming up is one we've been asked to mention. There's a new documentary will be having its premiere in Bristol on the 13th of May. It's called Attack on Sorpee Dam. It's a story from the late George Johnny Johnston, who was a bomb aimer on the Dan Bustard flight. Johnny, apparently, in his last couple of years, narrated the whole movie, the whole 1 hour film. And apparently there's plenty of previously unseen footage, and some amazing computer-generated graphics to show how things happened. There's a website where you can read more about the film. We can put that link into the comments. And you can book tickets on Eventbrite. And if you look at the website, the Attack on Sorpee Dam website, there's an Eventbrite link there. There we are. There it is.
One in the comments. There's a comment here which I just need to put up, which is the Sky Demon tips and tricks this Saturday at Red Hill Pilots Hub. Only a few spaces left. I thought I read that Red Hill Pilots Hub had its last day last week. Did it not? Or am I?
Maybe that was as a cafe and not as a space. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either. I don't know.
I had heard that that was fully booked, but maybe there's a couple of places left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully there's a venue as well. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, there we go.
Kathan did say that he'd be happy to answer any questions, but we've run out of time. So you can find him at Elstree, and let's just bring him on briefly. Kathan, how should people get in touch with you if they haven't got any questions?
I'm on everything. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. If you're lucky enough, WhatsApp.
Okay, there you go. You can get him anywhere. Otherwise, just hang around outside Heathrow. He'll be asking the pilots as they come out how they learnt to fly.
I still do it actually. I go to Heathrow and it's like, and the thing is, you don't want to look awkward and be like, how did you become pilot? So it's like, they're in their uniform, but it's like, are you a pilot? And he goes, yeah. It's like, okay, I want to be a pilot too. What do you suggest? And that's how you bring up the conversation. It's just amazing.
Yeah, you should probably just get one of those yellow high-vis things with the CA written on the back. And then you go, are you a pilot? I just need to ask a couple of questions.
I'll tell you what, if I did that, I think they would run the other way.
Yeah.
think you're probably right. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We'll have a great weekend. Fly if you can. We'll see you next Wednesday if you're a club member and you'd like to join us for the live stream extra on Wednesday afternoon. Otherwise, we'll see you next Thursday. If you're not a member, please join. Remember, you get all of the content we produce, all of the free landing fees, exclusive webinars, exclusive events, plus a lot more. It's only £5 a month. Thank you very much, and we'll see you all soon.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Cheers.